I'm with the TenantCloud support team. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today on getting started. Today we will go through all of the essential settings needed to set your account up for success. So once you've already logged into your account, there's several things in your settings that you could get set up before you begin utilizing certain functions and features to make things easier for you and automate a lot of things. So at the top right corner of your account is your profile icon. You can click on that, then select settings. And once you've selected settings, you've got a menu here. And we'll start with the invoices and late fees. So under accounting settings, you can click invoices and late fees. And the very first option you'll see here is the recurring invoice settings. So this will actually allow you to set the default number of days that you can publish an invoice. So the due date will remain the same. For example, if you got rent is due on the first every month, all this would do is it will actually allow the invoice to publish in advance so that the tenant can see it. And then they can pay it early as well. They get the notification a little bit earlier. It's really good because they can get a bigger heads up for the invoice and it gives them more time to prep. So I would say the typical amount selected is 5 or 10 days, but you can even do as early as 15, 30, 45 days. And this will actually apply to all of your invoices. So just take note of that. You can't control this based off of the individual lease. So this will apply to everybody. So I'm going to change it to 5 days and I'm going to hit update to save that. And then right beneath that, we've got this next section here called the global late rent fees. Once this is set up, this will be the default setting for future move-ins. So you can control the late fee settings. We've got fixed amount and percentage amount. And you can turn on and off these toggles as needed. So if you don't need any late fees at all, you can leave them off. And you can also turn one on, turn the other, or turn both on. So the one-time late fee will be the very first one that's applied after the tenant's grace period is expired. Um, so I'm going to do a fixed amount for $50 for the very first fee, and then after that, it's going to be a daily $10 fee. So I'm going to leave that as a daily $10 fee. And just take into account that when you're determining this maximum monthly balance, no, you'll want to include the rent amount plus the late fee maximum monthly. So in some states or areas, you by law cannot charge more than a certain amount on late fees. So check your localities and your state laws to see if there's any restrictions. But this will include both the one-time fee and the max daily late fee. So for example, if in my area the max I can charge is 200, then the system will charge this on the first day after the grace period is over, plus this every single day until I've met this balance. So that's how you want to calculate that total. There's a little note here that will tell you what that means. So the next thing that we'll look at here is, oh, and one more note actually with these global late fees is that it is a global setting that will default on your move-in. So when you're moving in a tenant, the system will automatically fill all of this out, the one-time fee and the daily late fee. But you still have the ability to control that on that individual lease. And so it'll standardize it across the board and you can always tweak that individually. So for our property managers who have owners, you could actually select this little checkbox here that makes the late fee transactions not visible to owners. Some property management companies will actually collect a late fee as income for the company and not for the owners. So definitely, if you have the property manager mode enabled because you're a company or you're working for other owners, you can enable that property manager mode, and then this will become available to you to enable. So also definitely take a look at your owner agreements if you have any agreements with your owners before you turn this on. But this will allow you to separate out those late fees so that it doesn't count it as income for them. And it says here, check the box to not include the late fee transactions in the reports visible to owners or their related properties. And then make sure you hit update to save that. Next, we will adjust the grace period for late fees. Not only are you able to set the number of days that you allow your grace period to be, but also the time that the late fees are assessed, giving you even more control over your automated invoicing. Um, so for the grace period, this again is going to be um, automatically applied to the move-in on the lease, but it can be controlled as well on that individual lease. So you can tweak it once you're in the move-in process. It's just gonna fill it out for you automatically, similar to the late fees. Um, I would also take a look, as always, when anything having to do with your lease. Make sure you're checking your local laws, state laws. Make sure you're not like in violation or anything like that of what those say for grace period, if there's anything restricting you like that. But I would say the most common is 3 days, 5 days for grace periods. And then this time zone here is actually determined by the settings on your account. So if we go back here to settings under account settings, you have a time zone, and that's the time zone that it's going to be applied to across the board for all your leases. So here we're in Central Texas, Central Time. So that's going to be the time zone applied um, for this late fee assessment and the grace period assessment. I'm going to change this to 5 days and then hit update. Awesome. And then there's a little notice up here at the top right. The changes have been saved. So the next setting we will address is properties under the online payments section. You can actually navigate up here. There's a little like menu tree. If you click settings, it'll take you back to the main menu. And we've got the online payment section, then click on properties. And so once you've added all your properties in the system, you'll start seeing them listed here in this section. You do have to have your online payment set up in order to see this. Basically, the online payment section won't even be open. Like you won't see any of these tabs until you've initiated the online payment system. So once you have done that, your properties will be listed here. And as you can see, there's actually a designation for each property for you to separate income from deposits. So any property related income will go to the bank account here, and any security deposits or liabilities will go to the bank account here. And if you click edit, you can switch between bank accounts and reassign them as needed. And then hit update. I obviously only have one bank account currently in the system, so I can't really switch around yet. I also wanted to note that you can only see verified bank accounts here. Once a bank is verified, they will all appear on this drop down for you to switch around. And so we do have a third category that we haven't talked about. So there's security deposits and liabilities. There's property income, and then there's also general income. So anything that is not tied to a property will go to a separate bank account labeled as the main bank account. So if you come over here to the bank account section, I have this bank account listed as the main one, and that's the one that will be associated with general income. So we were looking at that other section. If we go back here, we were actually looking at the ability to hide late fees from owners because property managers will sometimes make that as their own income. And so that would essentially be going to the main bank account. So if we go back here, um, I might have, for example, a property tied to this bank account. And so all rental income will go there, but the system will send any general income or transactions such as late fees to the main bank account. And so you can easily change the main bank account by selecting make main on the entity. So we'll hop back over here to the entity section. And this is where you could click the three dots on an entity and make that the main one. So obviously these are called the same right now. So it's a little hard to distinguish, but this top one is already verified. It's got that verified status and it's called main entity. So I'll go to this one and then make main and then confirm. And now the bank account tied with that entity will be the main one. So I'll go back to bank accounts, and now this is the main one. So that's where all my late fees and general income will go to. I did want to note that once you do add a bank account, even if it's not verified, as long as the account number is valid and everything matched up fine, you can actually start receiving payouts immediately. So the verifications part of it is really only needed for using that bank account to pay. So once you add your bank account, you can start using it to receive payments, and then once you verify it, it'll be officially saved. And as you can see, there is a little pop-up here that says if a bank is not verified within 10 days, it will be removed. So you do need to make sure you come back here and complete the verification within 10 days. We offer the ability to verify your bank account instantly, so that is an option. Um, but we can always delve into online payments later at another webinar where we can really do a deep dive. And we'll make sure to announce that when it does come. Okay, so now we're going to hop over to the payment settings section. And at the top, we have the ability to set up invoice prioritization. So this is called payment order. Basically, we do know that for several landlords in different states, there are laws that basically say that if a tenant has made a payment, you cannot evict them. So it is super important for property managers to be able to require tenants to pay their outstanding balance before they pay newer invoices. So, for example, it's currently May. If I have a tenant who didn't pay their April rent and then their May invoice posted, the tenant could actually go in there and pay the May rent and be considered caught up, depending on where you live or where your property is at. So this is really great. If you turn that on, it will actually require tenants to pay the oldest invoices first, and it prevents them from paying only the rent invoices, um, and then letting late fees from previous months also remain outstanding. So if there are late fees that are super old and haven't been paid, this will force them to do that. It'll make them pay the late fees first. Um, the other thing you can do here is allow partial payments. So it's very easy. You just toggle off, toggle on. If you do enable partial payments, then there's also this distinction here for grace period, late fees, or transactions that are late. So once the grace period is over, if you turn this on, it won't allow them to make any more partial payments. Um, and then there's this other checkbox that says no late fee partial payments after grace period. So once the grace period is over, it won't allow partial payments on late fees either. So we do separate that from regular invoices versus late fee invoices, and then just hit update to save that. And then you can also decide who is charged NSF fees and who pays for the transaction fees. So we have this NSF fee section here where you can dictate who pays it. Um, and if you decide to be the one to pay it, you could also select the card that you want to use for that. The card I have currently on here is expired, so that's why it won't let me select it. But you can also add a new card from this section, and it'll allow you to fill everything out and save it. Um, you can also have the tenant be invoiced automatically once you change this from landlord to tenant. I'm sorry, from tenant to landlord. So if you decide to take on these NSF charges, the system will charge you when a tenant's payment fails due to insufficient funds. So it won't charge you every single time a payment fails. It's only for insufficient funds. Um, and if you do select yourself, you do have to select the payment method. So just keep that in mind that you should be prepared to have your card saved on file for these NSF charges, and it will allow you to charge a tenant separately. So, for example, I might want to have these NSF fees charged to myself for $15, but then actually invoice a tenant $50 or $40 for their NSF fee. Because according to my contract, if their payment fails due to insufficient funds, I get to charge them a $40 insufficient funds charge. So it all depends on what your contract says and what you guys have agreed upon. Also, state law. So definitely Always take a look at what your legal restrictions may be in your area for your properties. The other thing that you can enable here is transaction fees. So by default, tenants, aka the payer, is responsible for transaction fees. If you want to be the one who pays that fee for your tenants, you do have to reach out to our customer support team to enable this capability. And once we do enable that for you, then you can come in here and change it as you please. So this could be for card payments, this could be for bank payments. I would say the majority of the time, landlords are actually paying for the ACH fee for their tenants. Um, like if they are going to pay one of the two, they typically go for the bank payments. Um, the card transactions are percentage based, so they can be a little bit bigger. Um, so if you do decide to enable yourself as the one who pays the card transaction fees, just know it is percentage based. So that amount will actually vary by the amount that the tenant or the owner is paying. And then for the um, ACH fees, owners do not pay that. So if an owner is paying with a bank payment, so they're going to use their routing and account number to pay you, whether that's because they owe you a property reserve or for damages, or they're going to pay you to cover for that landscaping fee that you had, whatever it may be. If they are sending you money, they don't pay a transaction fee. Only tenants do. So just keep that in mind. And as always, just make sure you hit update on each section to save those changes. So the next section that we're going to look at is the rental application settings.
And we'll go ahead and start on this application fee section. So with rental applications, there's a lot of customization that's available for you. One of the things that we do allow customization on is how you invoice the application fee. We do understand that there are different rules in different states across the country, different areas, and so there's also just different management styles. So one of the things that you could do here is actually enable automatic invoicing, which means that when an applicant submits their application, they also have to pay at the same time. So they'll fill out the application, and then once they get to the end, they hit submit, they'll be prompted to pay the application fee if there is one at all. So that way you get the application fee and the application together. This is very common, and it allows you to collect that fee upfront with the application for your time. You know, the application fee is definitely something that property managers like to collect because they are taking time to process the application. The next thing we can take a look at here is to request it after the application has been submitted. So if you want an application to come in first and then you want to invoice them afterward, once you've reviewed them, vetted them, this allows you to implement a little bit of a screening process here with the applicant before you charge them. Also, a really great tool if you don't necessarily want to charge someone unless you know they're serious and you are ready to move forward with them. The other customization here is fee transaction reports. So, as you saw in our last section, you can actually hide certain transactions from owners. One of the transactions that you can hide is application fees. A lot of property managers will collect that fee as income for themselves because they are working to process these applications, and they've agreed with their owner that the application fee will go to them as a property management company versus the owner and income for them. So, a little reminder that the property management tool that we're talking about here does open up a lot within TenantCloud. So, if you enable the property management mode in your TenantCloud account, it'll open up a lot of these things, such as the ability to hide application fees from owners. If you are a DIY landlord or you're a landlord who owns or manages all the properties that you own, this is really not something that you might need, but property managers, property management companies that manage properties for other owners, you might want to enable that property manager mode which is only available on our top plans. So if you turn this on, it will make all those application fees come to you and not the owner. The other thing you can set up here and customize is the actual form, the actual rental application, and the fields that are filled out. If you turn these toggles on, you do need to have at least one required field for that toggle, but it'll require that field for the applicant. So you can turn these on or off, add fields. You can even add a number of required records. So for example, I might want my applicants to show at least 2 records of income history, which shows me that they've at least had, 2 jobs in the past. And then you can also require certain fields within the income history section. And we also have the attachment section, which is really beneficial if you want them to upload like a PDF file of, for example, their bank statement or their pay stubs, or maybe they, just got hired at a new place of employment and so they don't have pay stubs yet, but they want to upload a letter of employment confirming that they've been hired with a certain amount of income. This is really great for proof of income in the application process and any other verification that needs to be submitted to you. As always, when it comes to leasing and listing, you want to make sure you know and understand the laws in your specific area, your state, and your localities. So pay attention to that when you're coming in here and requiring information, because you definitely want to make sure you're being compliant with any housing regulations. If you require this field, it will make them upload the file, but if you leave it open-ended, it also allows them to upload in the section that they would like. So maybe one of the things that you do is for proof of income, you allow them to do either pay stubs or bank statements. So you might not want to check both off. You'll want to leave those open, a little more open-ended, and allow them to submit the documentation on the respective section. So just hit update to save that. And just a little reminder, this customization is only available on the higher plans, on the pro and the business plan. And then we do have the terms and signatures section. So we do have a set of default questions that are added here for background questions, but you're welcome to remove those, edit them, hide them, add new ones. One of the things that I put on here is I want to know why they are moving out of their current residence, and I'm going to allow them to do a short answer. So when I add a question, I have the ability to make it a yes or no question, require an explanation, or add a short answer on there. And I can hide some of these. Maybe some of these are seasonal questions where like maybe I have something going on in the summer and I need to ask them for that season, that question. Or maybe it's a question about like a discount, like are you interested in this discount, or in leasing for this amount of months. So there's a lot of room for customization here. So as you can see, a lot of flexibility for all kinds of scenarios. You can also allow users to upload documents to be filled out. So if you have a required document that you use for your property management company, or maybe something that's required in your state that you need them to fill out when they apply, this is a great place to do it. There's also going to be room to do that in the leasing process, but right here, we just want to focus on rental applications. The other thing you can do here is add terms for your application process. If you already have some terms, you can just copy and paste them here, or you can just type them directly into this box. And then you can format it a little bit. There is a little bit of bulleting, adding links, making bold, etc. And then you'll just want to hit update to save that. The last thing that we do have here is requiring an e-signature, which is actually really helpful, especially if in your area, maybe signing an application is in a form agreeing to the lease. I know that in my previous property management experience, if we had an applicant sign an application and paid a deposit, they were technically liable for moving forward with that lease. So this is collecting a signature, and it can be helpful in the move-in process. You definitely don't want to be in a situation where somebody signed an application and then they backed out at the last minute. So take a look at what you are allowed to do in your area and use these functionalities to make sure that you're staying compliant, because you're applying the same process to everyone who is applying, but also using these tools to your advantage to make you more efficient in your leasing process. If you want to get this functionality on your account, you can upgrade at any time by going to settings in my plan. And we do have the ability to change your plan or upgrade there. If you want to go to the business plan, you will have to talk to a salesperson, but you can do that within this page right here. Subscription, my plan, upgrade, talk to sales, and definitely get this customization on your rental applications. It is extremely useful. All right, so the next section that we're going to talk about is listing website. Okay, so now we are going to look at the listing website settings. We're going to go over to the domain settings, and here you can actually activate your free listing website. We do give you a free listing website. Just turn on that toggle and it's yours. We'll give you a free subdomain hosted within TenantCloud. Typically, there's like a random number on here that's assigned to you automatically and generated automatically, but you can come in here and customize it and call it whatever you would like to make it unique to you, your business. So mine is going to be rachelscondos.tenantcloud.com. And if you click the three dots here, you can copy that link, paste it, print it on an ad. You can send it to someone via text, save it in your notes on your phone so you can share it when you're on the go. But it's yours. It's free. So it's part of the website subdomain that you get. The other option that we do have here is the custom website domain. So this is actually going to be really good if you already have your own personalized domain that you own. For example, you went with GoDaddy.com and you signed up for a website and you've paid for it. You own your own domain. That's custom for you. For example, if I have one that's called like AustinTexasCondos.com, it's mine. I've paid for it. Maybe I've already printed it on a bunch of business cards. I don't want to change it, but I want to have a place for people to come in and apply for the listings that I've worked so hard to put together here in my TenantCloud account. This is a really great way to do that. You would basically just paste your website domain here, request the mapping, and our team of developers will take it from there and connect it for you. Sometimes we do need a few files for you to send us, but we'll take care of it. And it basically just brings everything back to TenantCloud. So if you, let's say, for example, you've already printed your custom domain on an ad and somebody clicks on it, or they follow that link for your custom domain, it brings them back to TenantCloud and allows them to apply and see all of your listings. So it's really great. We'll see a little bit more here in a second. If you click on the sitemap and style section, there are two sections. There's a basic rentals page, which allows you to just very bread and butter. It shows you the map. It shows you the listings that are available. Applicants can filter through your available rentals and hit apply, send you a message. They can request a tour. So it's got like everything that you need for listings, and it does have filtering available as well for an easy search function. But then we do have the company website, which is a little bit more businessy, a little bit more professional looking, definitely makes you look very legit. If you enable this company website, it allows you to add some customization for color here. You can put a company logo. It also allows you to build a little like landing page, if you will. It gives you a home page. So as you noticed here, when I disabled the company website, these two tabs were hidden. So that's where that additional customization comes in. So if I click company website and I update it, it now opens up these two tabs for me to add all this amazing stuff for my website. So I have a little slogan here for my header. I've got a really awesome picture. We even give you some tips on how to stand out and craft a slogan. We do have this About Us section, which allows you to talk about yourself, about the company, what makes you stand out. And we've got the rentals section, the custom section as well. The custom section allows you to kind of customize how the content is displayed. So we've got text block and photo, text block and gallery. And here's a little sample of what it looks like. Really fancy. And then we've got the gallery section, which shows you all the photos that you've uploaded. hit update and it will save that for you. You do have to fill everything out, of course, and make sure that that's all saved. And then we have a frequently asked questions section. This is really awesome if you're getting a lot of the same repeated questions from your applicants. Add all the answers on here and it will answer it for them. So it definitely saves your team a lot of time. You can add questions. You can customize existing questions. You can hide them. Maybe they're not applicable at this time, but let's say summertime comes around and you have all these specials or you have a certain deal going on, you can turn on that toggle for the summer and turn it back off once you're all leased up. So you can edit and remove those, add photos, and then as always, make sure you hit update to save these things. And then we have the contact us page, which allows you to talk about yourself, your company, your team members. If you have a leasing coordinator that these people are, these applicants may be working with, and you want to put a face to the name, you can definitely add them on there. You can even put their photo and their direct line if they have one. And you can hide and edit these sections. There's also a public facing phone number that you can add and hit update. Office location, maybe you have a different location for all of your leasing stuff. If you want an applicant to go and take a tour and you have a different location for that office where you want them to meet your agent, you can always input all that separate information. We also have social media links if you want them to stay in touch. And that's all we've got for listing websites. So it's a very, very awesome tool. Once again, this customization, a lot of it is only available on the higher plans because it is so robust. And if you want to get on one of the higher plans, you can usually upgrade depending what plan you're on now. You can usually upgrade on the subscription section in your settings. So it's super easy. You just go to settings, subscription, my plan, and there will be a green button here that says change plan. Currently, my button is not there because I do have the highest plan available, but I promise you that button is there and it's super easy to do. It even allows you to contact our sales team if you want to go to the custom business plan. The business plan is very customizable and allows you to add a lot of really cool features that we are actually going to talk about here in the next section for team management. With this section, you have the ability to invite sub-admins. Perhaps it's a leasing agent, a maintenance coordinator, an executive assistant, an accountant who can have access to certain aspects of your account so they can access or view certain properties or functionalities within your TenantCloud account. This will be a very exclusive invitation that can only be sent by the main administrator of the account. So once you're in here, you'll click invite team member. You want to fill out all of their information, and definitely you'll need an email address because we'll have to send them an invitation via email. There we go. And then I'm going to assign them some properties and then send them the invitation. They'll get an email, follow the link, and they'll be able to sign up. You can also control what permissions they get access to. So there are different sections. We have the settings. So all those settings that we're going over today, you can give sub-admins permission to certain sections to view or manage. And same for the main menu of the TenantCloud account. You can give them permissions to see leases, to manage accounting, contacts, properties. All of this customization is available within this functionality of team management and permissions. Once you have sent that invitation, they'll get an email with a unique link to sign up and create their own login credentials for their TenantCloud account. This is really great, especially for security reasons. You don't want to be sharing your email address and password. This might be someone that you really, really trust, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for your account and what happens in there. And so this kind of separates that accountability and it gives them their own login information to be able to work within the account, and you can restrict their access to limit it, especially if you have a big team. So right here, we'll see a list of all of our sub admins. You can always edit their email address, send them an update if they need to be connected on a different email address. You can also delete them if you don't need them to have access anymore. And then you can adjust their permissions at any time, and the changes are effective immediately. So it's very easy to control on there. And then we have the property permissions tab. This is just a different way for you to give access to sub-admins on properties. It's a really great place to go to if you just need to do a quick audit of who has permissions on which properties. So if I wanted to go to this property and make sure that Kim Possible has permissions on there, I'll turn that on, hit update, and that will save the settings for that property. So now we're going to go to our next section, which is our maintenance request section. So first, we'll talk about request settings. At the top of the page, you can determine how early to post recurring maintenance requests before the service or the due date. So this is really good for recurring maintenance, such as like landscaping, maybe plumbing checkups, AC tune-ups, that kind of stuff can be set up as recurring. And then you can also set how early these are going to be posted. Below, you can also control the privacy settings for all the maintenance requests and decide which information is the assigned service professional can see and what information the tenant who made the request can see. So if you toggle this off, it'll be disabled. If you toggle it back on, you can then control what information they will see. So if you want to show the tenant on the maintenance request, show their information to the service pro, you'll turn this on. If you want to show the service pro information to the tenant, you'll turn this one on. So you can customize that and then hit update to save it. And then under the communication settings, you can also control whether or not there is open communication. So if you turn this toggle on, it actually will create a new message channel automatically when a maintenance request is created. This is awesome if you just want them to be able to talk to each other. You want to see all the tenants involved here. And then just hit update to save that. And then we'll come up here now to the automation settings. And so here you can actually decide whether or not you'd like all maintenance requests automatically shared with each property owner. So you can turn this off, turn it back on, add the list of the owners that you would like to have those requests automatically shared with them. And then for the maintenance request automatic assignee, this will allow you to auto assign maintenance requests to a specific service professional or yourself or a maintenance coordinator within your team. This is a great feature if you have a dedicated technician that covers your maintenance needs. So basically, it will funnel everything to that person, and then that person will handle where the maintenance request moves after that. Then the next setting that we have here is review requests. So at the bottom of the page, you do have the ability to review your maintenance requests before their mark is resolved. This basically just keeps the service professional from closing out a maintenance request without your knowledge. So just toggle it on if you want it enabled, turn it off if you don't want that enabled. Lastly, we'll go back up to the account settings section and take a look at integrations. So at the top, we have the option to sync with Google Calendar. This allows you to stay up to date with calendar reminders. Very easy to connect it, very simple, but also useful. Below that, we have the ability to link to Tenant Turner or Show Mojo, which is a really great way to automate lead scheduling, lockboxes, and tours. And then you would just fill everything out as needed. And then at the bottom, we have the option to integrate with Zillow Group. So this actually allows you to make one listing shared across both sites. Zillow Group actually shares to Zillow, Trulia, and Hotpads. So if you set up a listing on TenantCloud and you have this enabled, it'll push it through to that group. We do have some information here on how to get it set up. You do want to make sure that you talk to Zillow, but we do have all that information for you right here on this Learn More button. Very easy and straightforward. And now we're going to make one last stop up here at the Notifications tab. So here you can control where you're notified for different actions and also how frequently. There are three important customizations for these notifications. And that is going to be new leads. So I would say these are the three most important. We've got new leads here. We also have new rental applications, and then we also have expiring leases. So for keeping up with occupancy and vacancy, these are going to be the three big sections for that. And then we do have two areas that you can keep track of these. That's email and feed notifications. Obviously, email is going to be going to the email address that is on your account settings. And then the feed notifications are visible here on the bell icon of your account. So at the top left of your dashboard, you have that little bell icon, and this is what we would consider a feed. You also have a version of this on your mobile device. So if you have the app or you're using a mobile browser, we do have the mobile settings for feed notifications. And so those can be controlled or enabled when you're on a mobile view. This is obviously a computer, not a mobile view, so that's why that option is not here. But yeah, those are all three ways to enable those. And that will wrap it up for today. That rounds out our settings. So, reviewing everything that's mentioned in this webinar is a really great way to ensure your account is set up. Basically, all we did is we went to settings and we hit up every section here and filled everything out. So that's a really great way to make sure you and your team are set up for success. So if anyone has any questions about any of these settings reviewed, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for discussion.